everybody. Welcome. Hello, hello. Thank you all for joining us. Just gonna give it a minute or so we can get more people in here. Get ready for today's live. So, hello everybody and welcome to PantheraTV Live. I'm your host, Jamie Zachariah, the Communications and Digital Content Manager here at Panthera, coming at you from our New York office. And today we are going to be talking about the amazing month-long celebration called Mes del Jaguar, or Month of the Jaguar. And to talk about that, we have Panthera's Mesoamerica and Costa Rica Director, Roberto Salom Pérez. So, let me get him in here and get started. Hello.
Hello, Jamie. Hello,
How are
everyone.
you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. Thank you for joining us today.
Sure, my pleasure.
Why don't you tell all our viewers who you are and where you're reporting out of?
Okay, so my name is Roberto Salom Pérez. I'm from Costa Rica, and I'm the Mesoamerica Director for Panthera. So I oversee actions of Panthera from Mexico all the way to Panama.
That's quite a bit of a range.
Yeah, it is, and very different countries, but culture unite us all, and we have a lot of similarities as well.
And how did you get involved with Panthera?
I started working with Panthera because I loved wildcats all my life. I was studying at the university, and I said, I would want to study wildcats, but I think it's a long shot. I don't think it's a possibility. And one teacher told me, no, as a matter of fact, I know someone that can help you. And it was Eduardo Carrillo from the National University. And he started me. I made the first camera trap survey in Corcovado National Park and the first camera trap survey in Costa Rica for jaguars.
Wow.
And at that time we used film camera traps, so it was a hassle. You had to go to the field very frequently to change the film so it wouldn't stay too long without being able to shoot a picture. But it was fun for sure, and we got a lot of pretty pictures of jaguars and other wildlife. And from that point on, I worked 1 year with WCS, and then since then with Panthera.
So it sounds like you're the perfect person to talk to us today about Month of the Jaguar.
Yeah, I hope.
So why don't you tell our viewers and our supporters a little bit about this month-long extravaganza?
Well, this is a very interesting initiative that was born, I guess, when we started working with the Jaguar corridor, and we knew from genetic evidence that there were no subspecies of jaguars from northern Mexico all the way to northern Argentina. No subspecies of this animal in the Americas. There's not a lot of large carnivores where we can say that. So that means that they have been able to establish that connectivity. But one of Panthera founders, late Alan Rabinowitz, who's an inspiration for us all in the work that we do, he thought that there was another connection with the jaguar, and was a connection with culture. And the jaguar has always been important for indigenous populations, for people since they started living together in the Americas. So we wanted to rescue that connection that we have with jaguars and the culture, this mystic creature that it's very difficult to see, but it's very important and has always been uh, important in the culture, in religious activities, in different things that we can now see, for example, in pieces that we have in museums. And I don't know, I can show you some of them here from this book that we helped publish in Costa Rica from the museum. And you can see that there's different pieces there that depict, the different wildcats that we have. And this is the same in, the Maya culture, the Aztecs, the Incas. All of them have like these very impressive representations of the wildcats. And they always saw them as a deity, so godlike animals that were living with them.
So Month of the Jaguar is to connect conservation efforts, but with the culture, and it's all month long, right? Accumulating in Jaguar Day on November 29th.
Yes, so the UN declared November 29th as the Jaguar Day worldwide, so we celebrate that day, but we decided to celebrate the whole month, so we have different activities. So from Mexico all the way to South America, we have a lot of webinars. Some of them are directed more to a scientific audience, but we also have some topics that are for a general audience. We have several activities for children as well. They're very important. So we have stories for kids on Saturdays. We have also children drawings competition for Mesoamerica, organized by Mexico. We have also an art gallery auction that you can check on our website of mesdeljaguar.com. And we also wanted to recognize that we do this with several different partners in the different countries. So there's a lot of them. I won't start mentioning them because there's so many, but it is worth saying that this has been adopted by the countries and by several different organizations that are doing different activities. And that's because the jaguar is so important for us and for our cultures. And one very nice activity is that we're also recognizing park rangers that frequently risk their lives in protecting the protected areas. In this specific case, Jaguar corridor in Honduras. So we're making an activity with a partner, Lactosa, there to recognize their efforts and all they do to protect jaguars and all the wildlife that exists.
That's so important. I think maybe that's something we forget about, the people on the ground sometimes, because studying and protecting jaguars is not easy, I'm guessing.
It is not. It is not. I remember that always people tell me, so how many jaguars you've seen? And in the first years I was like, no, I haven't been able to see one, especially when I was doing my master thesis. And there were a lot of tourists coming into that national park in southwest Costa Rica. And sometimes a tourist will come there and say like, oh, I was just entering the park and I saw a jaguar. I'm like, oh no, and I haven't seen one. I mean, we see a lot in pictures, but well, now I've seen jaguars, I've seen pumas, very close. So now I can say that I have. But yeah, they're very difficult to study, and that's why we use a lot camera traps, which are these cameras that you place on trees and are active 24 hours a day for as long as you can leave them there, and they take pictures of everything, not only jaguars but also pumas, tapirs, wildlife peccaries, collared peccaries, all the animals that jaguars also need to survive. And that's why the conservation of jaguars is more than just jaguars. It's as you know, called an umbrella species. So with preserving the jaguar, we're also conserving all the species that this animal needs to survive and a great amount of habitat, because they need a lot of forest, which is critical also for human beings because, we all the water that we drink comes from forests. The oxygen is produced by forests. It helps now that we have seemingly a lot of hurricanes more than in the past. They help also the forest contain a little bit of that strength and make the water go down faster than when we don't have any trees left. So yeah, the jaguar is pretty important in the conservation level as well.
And especially because their range being so big, they probably help protect various types of habitat too, right? It's not just one type of rainforest either.
Yeah, exactly. So we have jaguars in desert areas in Mexico, for example, all the way to very high elevation areas. They usually like lower elevation, but we can find them in high elevation as well. And yeah, I mean, they occur all the way from Mexico to Argentina. So that tells you, how many different habitat types, from coastal areas all the way to mountains that they can live and in some cases even live very close by to people, because some people used to think like, oh no, let's just leave the jaguars inside national parks. Let's put a fence in there and they'll be fine. But now we know the jaguars need a lot of area to survive, and they need connectivity. And what has happened in several different areas across Latin America is that we have isolated protected areas. So we have one protected area here and one protected area here, but in the middle, we have human activities, we have agriculture, we have cattle ranching, we have houses. And jaguars need a way to pass from one protected area to the other so that these populations can survive in the long term. If these populations of jaguars or tapirs or the biggest mammals are isolated, they will start disappearing as it is happening, for example, with wildleaf peccaries. Wildleaf peccaries populations are very, very endangered due to isolation. So we don't want that to happen with jaguars as well.
Yeah, so it seems like habitat fragmentation and loss in general is definitely a big threat to jaguars.
Yes, that's the biggest threat to jaguars. It's habitat loss and fragmentation, which are two different processes because, the habitat loss could be related to, you're losing trees, you're losing area, but fragmentation is just having smaller and smaller pieces of forest where in some cases are not enough for these species to survive. And it can be caused by deforestation, but there's other processes, excuse me, that can also cause, sorry, that can also cause fragmentation. For example, roads, another type of large infrastructure. We've seen from studies that these types of infrastructure can become a barrier for this species. So, you can have forest cover on one side and on the other, but animals are just not crossing. So we have to make studies to see, what kind of mitigation measures we can implement in these areas.
So, what are some other threats to jaguars that we should know about besides these obvious big ones, like they don't have enough going on? There are others, unfortunately. Can you explain them?
Yes. For example, prey depletion. There's in places where there's a lot of hunting occurring. It's almost throughout the distribution of jaguars. We have problems with poaching. In some countries, poaching is totally banned, like in Costa Rica, but it still occurs illegally. And that decreases the availability of food. That leads to another problem for jaguars. When they, start walking, especially like juvenile males that are dispersing and looking for a new territory where there is no other big male that would push them away, they tend to go to areas that might not be the perfect areas, like pasture lands. And whenever they see a cow, usually they don't get involved with them. But if they're very hungry, they will attack cows. So that's one big problem that we have, because obviously farmers get angry, and they want to do something. And the solution in the past was, I'm just going to kill this animal. That was what ranchers used to do. They would hire someone, or they will do it themselves using guns or poisoning the cow. When the jaguar came back, and you would get poisoned, and along with the jaguar, coyotes or pumas or any other that would find the prey. So that was a big problem. And in several different countries, in Mexico, Belize, Honduras, almost Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, almost all throughout the distribution, we've been working with finding solutions to try to prevent these attacks from ever occurring. So you know that we have this model ranch in Brazil, where we combine ecotourism with cattle ranching, and we've introduced water buffaloes that are very good defending at this type of attacks, and they even defend regular cows. But there's other type of things that we can do, like electric fences or maternity paddocks to protect the most vulnerable domestic animals, and they're pretty successful, actually. So we've happy to say that we have a solution for that. So whenever we hear that, we come to the farmer not to say like, oh, you did this and that. We come here and like, listen, we're here to help. We think that with changing a few management things, we can almost guarantee that you're not getting any other attacks. So it's very good to have that, and we've been partnering with governments from several different countries, actually, to train teams that could attend these cases almost nationwide in the different countries. And the other problem that we're hearing more and more, especially in South America, is the killing of jaguars related to the use of jaguar parts in traditional Chinese medicine. So in countries like Bolivia and Peru, we've seen a lot of jaguar poaching related to this. So that's very worrisome, and we're also trying to study these and looking for solutions.
Yeah, I think that's what I love about working for Panthera, is that I know that all of these different threats we're addressing in different ways, whether it's protecting and connecting key habitats, or researching and fighting the international wildlife trade, or working on coexistence by working with communities. So how does the month of the jaguar and culture tie into that? And it's important to recognize culture, but how does that connect with conservation?
Well, one thing that it is very known is that you can protect what you don't know. So you have to learn, we have to relearn, I guess, about the jaguar, rescue that connection that we have, that we used to have with them, and know about them. We've seen that people in the field, in rural areas, are less afraid of jaguars than people in the cities. And it's very surprising to know that some people in the cities in the different countries of Latin America, they say like, oh, I didn't know that we had jaguars here. I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, that's just 2 hours from here. You can go to places where you can see jaguar tracks. So if people don't know about these species, they won't be able to value them and also preserve them, and also understand how important they are for the ecosystem and the ecosystem services that we enjoy every day. So yeah, I mean, they're very important, and the Mes del Jaguar is trying to raise that consciousness that we should have, and the importance of these species at a spiritual level. I think we all have this connection. Every time we hear people in the field talking about jaguars, they all get excited and they want to see the pictures. And it's because of that connection. It's a powerful animal, mystical species that you almost never see, but it's there. and it's just people are connected to them. So we have to help them learn about them. Some people are afraid and they say, "Oh, I'm afraid, the jaguar is gonna attack me or my kids." And there's in our area in Mesoamerica, there's not a single report of jaguars attacking people. That's not related to animals that were enclosed or things like that. As any wild animal, if they feel threatened, they will defend themselves. But if you talk to people that have seen jaguars in the forest, almost all stories are, "Oh, I saw it and it went away," because jaguars don't want to be close to people. They kind of have this respect about people. So they're not dangerous to us, but they're very important. So with Mes del Jaguar, we want to create that consciousness and rescue that connection that we all have with the jaguar.
And this month of the Jaguar is really special because not only is it a collaboration between communities and nonprofits, but it's between countries across the continents, people from all walks of life. We have educators, artists, everyone's coming together for an entire month to celebrate the importance and the beauty of the jaguar. And I think that's just really something special, and it really speaks to the value that we have or should have for this big cat.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everyone wants to get on board. I think it's again a charismatic species that draws attention, and again everyone gets very excited, and we have people making paintings in walls. We have people wanted to tell stories to kids. We have scientists that come to tell their research and what they've been learning. We have enterprises that want to sign in and help with jaguar conservation. So I think it's a very exciting time for the jaguar.
So I'm going to ask a personal question. What's your favorite thing about jaguars?
Oh, that's a good one. I like that they're powerful and I used to think that they're very independent. That they like say, "I don't need anyone. I'm just going to walk here in the forest," and but we've seen certain behaviors in different areas that are very, I guess. So the other thing that I like about them is that they keep surprising me. Like every time they're surprising me. Like when you first saw a black jaguar, it was like, wow, that's impressive. In there we have certain areas where they have a lot of prey, so we've seen males interacting with other males, or one male interacting with one female one day and the next with another female, or eating from the same prey at the same time. Researchers from other organizations like Luis Fonseca and Stephanie Arroyo have documented this type of behaviors, and that also brings some light about that they can also be very social in a way. And there's a lot of interactions there that we still don't know, and that's why we want to keep on studying them and understanding them better. So yeah, I think it's because he's just a powerful animal and just beautiful to see as well.
Really quick, because you mentioned it, could you explain briefly what is a black jaguar to those who might not know or understand?
Yeah. So there are certain species of wildcats that can have a mutation. In the case of the jaguar, it's a recessive mutation that only occurs in about 10% of the population, and it has been documented in South America all the way to Costa Rica. I have not seen a record of a black jaguar north of Costa Rica. So what happens is that this mutation, there's a pigment that's called melanin, and that gives our color of skin. So in the different animals, and what happens with this mutation is that it gives more melanin than usual. So the parts that should be yellowish are black. Mm-hmm. But if you actually see a black jaguar, what we call here a panther, I know that in the U.S. a panther is a puma, but in this case in Latin America, if you talk about a panther, you'll be talking about a black jaguar.
Okay.
If you see a black jaguar with good light, with good sunlight, you will still see the rosettes, and that's so they still keep the rosettes, but they're very hard to see at night. If you see a black jaguar at night, it would be like, dark black,
You just see
and
the eyes.
you so just see the eyes, and a regular jaguar can have black jaguars and the other way around. So yeah, and that same thing happens with leopards, for example, in Asia and Africa. And there are other species that also can be melanistic. That's the name, the scientific name for it.
Yeah, that's
And people in rural areas sometimes talk about the panther as being a totally different species, and they say they're more aggressive and they're more afraid of it. So yeah,
Do you think that's
it's
probably just kind of just made up because they are the same
well, I think
species?
they are the same species. Yeah, I just think that they're just so magnificent to see. If you see a black animal that is bigger than a Rottweiler walking there in the forest, you see like, oh, this guy must be very, very, very powerful and very brave. So yeah, just I think it's just a thing that people think. Yeah, but it shouldn't be different from the others. So.
So a lot of us watching, and we have a lot of supporters around the world. Like, unfortunately, I don't live somewhere where there's jaguars. But what can I do? What can the average person do to protect jaguars and wildcats, and just to be more conscious?
Well, spread the word. Talk about jaguars. You can attend all the activities and learn more about them. There are different platforms where you can donate and collaborate with the different research that's been done by Panthera and other organizations throughout the Americas. We still, as I said, we still have a lot to learn about these species and how are they affected by roads? How are they affected by hydroelectric projects? How are they affected by mining? Things that are growing and growing. Roads are being built as we speak in different areas. How can we make sure that development and conservation are combined and can go hand in hand? Because we acknowledge that people need roads, people need energy related to hydroelectric projects, for example, but there are ways to do it. So if we can guarantee that we can have good sound research based on science, where mitigation actions can be made, or that you can make the roads in a way that it won't disrupt the habitat of these and other species, that would be very helpful. So we are always need a hand with donations, or you can just volunteer or become a jaguar scientist.
Oh, that's yeah. We do. We tend to have a lot of people who ask, "How can I get involved?" And I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can study it and become a scientist, or you can just be a wildcat advocate, like we encourage. And if you're not already signed up for Panthera's email list, which includes our monthly newsletter, which has videos, photos, updates, blogs, you can go to panthera.org and sign up now. But luckily, it is only November 10th, which means we have more than half a month left of amazing Month of the Jaguar activities. So where can we stay updated on these events and these activities?
Okay, so we have a webpage where you can see per country what are the different activities. It's called mesdeljaguar.com. And I don't know, we can write it there, but we have, the webpage. We also have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, so you can find us there and follow up our different activities. But if you want to take a look at the whole scenario and just mark it in your calendar, all the different things, mesdeljaguar.com. That's the place to go.
Thank you. And for those of you watching, it's okay if you didn't catch that, because I'm going to post this video and I'm going to include links to the website, to this Instagram account, to Facebook, so that you can stay updated with the Month of the Jaguar no matter where you are. So, Roberto, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been super informative, super exciting, and I'm really, interested in joining some of these events.
Yeah. There's still a lot to come, but thank you very much for the opportunity. Thanks for all the viewers, and let's support Jaguar conservation.
Thank you everyone for joining us, and this is just the beginning of Month the Jaguar. Have a good one.